This is Joe here, and I have owned the Proxxon Thermocut now for about 7 years, and I'll be explaining the operations and its features. The table provides a grid-marked working surface and comes complete with a fence and miter gauge. The tall clearance allows it to be used with a variety of foam projects. The slots allow easy movement of the miter gauge, and it can be locked down in position. The miter gauge also features angle measurements and is secured with a knob. There are also angle markings located on the table itself. These can be useful for cutting precise angles of a section of foam. There are also millimeter markings on the table to correspond with the grid markings. The on state is indicated by a red LED. The temperature knob is a bit flimsy but does the job and is marked with digits to indicate intensity. As with any foam cutter, they require a fair amount of skill to learn the rates that material is fed. Thicker areas must go slow while you must feed thinner materials faster or reduce the power. The smooth aluminum surfaces make it easy to control the feed rate. The machine is also capable of running plastics. Here I'm ripping across a corrugated plastic. With the miter gauge removed, a large sheet of foam can be free-cut. With practice you can trace patterns out. My skills are not quite there, so I often find it easier to use a stencil to produce accurate cuts. One great use is being able to rip a piece of foam into a thinner sheet. The clearance that the machine provides allows a piece about 6 inches tall to be worked. If you need to cut a bevel, the machine can easily be adjusted by loosening the wire spool and sliding the guide back. The guide can be secured anywhere along the rail. Because the wire length increases, you will need to apply more power to compensate. A 45-degree angle can be easily achieved, and the lower clearance of the fence is beneficial here. This is one of my favorite features of the machine. With any foam cutter, it is inevitable that you will break the wire. Fortunately, it is easy to get it restrung and back in action. Simply remove power, loosen the hold-down knob in the front of the machine, and pull the old wire out. Loosen the wire spool and pull out a few inches of wire. The top of the hold is shaped like a funnel, so the wire is easily inserted inside. After inserting about a half-inch of wire into the hold-down, it is retightened. Align the wire through the guide slot while turning the spool to make the wire taut. While keeping pressure on the spool, tighten the knob down. You won't need much tension, but keep in mind that the wire will expand when the wire gets hot, so you may need to retighten a bit when you start using it again. I have broken wires hundreds of times, and I still have the original spool of wire that came with the machine. Free-working large and odd-shaped pieces can sometimes be challenging, but for such a small machine, it has continued to be useful for many projects. This machine has made the mastery of foam work much easier than a typical home-built machine. For me, the biggest downside of the machine is that there is no way to secure the fence to the miter gauge. I also wish there was a better way to make an outside radius cut or a circle cut without having to use stencils. Overall though, it is a wonderful machine. I hope to use it for many more years.